First, let's get to Tim Barbalance, Ravens pre-post game host for 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore. Tim, good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you guys?
We're doing good, man. Getting ready for this big Monday night tilt, showdown between the 11-3 Ravens and the 11-3 Niners, the top teams in the NFL. And I know Baltimore feels disrespected right now due to the spread of this game, a 5-point spread for the 49ers. And Marlon Humphrey's on record saying, man, I don't respect anybody out there. So being around this team, getting ready for this Monday night game, and the Ravens probably need this game just a little bit more than the 49ers do. What is that attitude? What is that tone, that the temperature out there in Baltimore as they get ready for this Monday night tilt?
Yeah, so I was at the facility on Wednesday, and there was definitely a little bit of an edge. Kyle Hamilton, he was saying that not all 11-3 teams are made equal, and he feels like the Ravens have been disrespected and thinks that, look, they got a chance to prove that they're the best team in football on Monday night. But they kind of relish in this underdog role. I mean, just over the course of the Ravens franchise history, and Lamar Jackson, when he was asked about it, he was like, hey, man, I hope people don't pick us. Like, we play better in this role.
Tim, talk about Kyle Hamilton for a second. Taking 14 from Notre Dame. He's 6'4", 220. The interception the other day, he's flying all over. Kind of like a hybrid between a safety and a linebacker. Talent off the charts. For Niners fans watching maybe the Ravens for the first time this week, talk about Kyle Hamilton for a second.
Kyle Hamilton, guys, if you go back to last year, week 1, and just the growth that he has had since then, it's been exponential. I mean, this is a player that easily is going to be a Pro Bowler. I think he should be an All-Pro, but he's that Swiss Army knife, and quite frankly, guys, he's kind of built for this game against the 49ers, where San Francisco, you guys got so many weapons up there and so many guys that can beat you in so many different ways, where Hamilton, I mean, he lines up all over the place, and he'll line up in the slot, he'll be a deep safety, he'll be up in the box to play the run. He's a great tackler. He's got great range, and he's just such a freak of an athlete where you just don't see a player of his size where he's 6'4", over 200 pounds, and can run with, 4'4" receivers. It's not something that you see too often. And for him to go from last year, where he was really struggling, ended up getting his snaps reduced to just 14 against the Bengals in their first matchup last year, to being arguably their best defensive player, it's been remarkable to watch.
Tim Barbalance, Ravens pre- and post-game host for 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore. No lie, Kyle Hamilton is a beast. He is a stud. But you also have a stud at the quarterback position, to Lamar Jackson, the former MVP. How's his game evolved since bringing over Todd Monken as the offensive coordinator, replacing Greg Roman, our old friend out here in San Francisco?
Yeah. I would say the biggest difference for Lamar this year, and it was kind of hammered home during OTAs and minicamp, is he has full autonomy at the line of scrimmage. Under Greg Roman, I mean, these guys wouldn't get out of the huddle till seemingly 2.5 seconds left of the play.
We know all about that.
Yeah. Where now, I mean, they're at the line. He's got so much time to survey and audible. And Todd Monken implements more of a horizontal passing game as opposed to a Greg Roman. And Lamar's really taken it in stride, man. I mean, you look at his numbers, and they aren't going to jump off the screen like they did in 2019. But, guys, he's having a hell of a season, and he's really continuing to develop as a passer. And I don't even know where the Ravens would be without him. I mean, we've had a discussion on our afternoon show this whole week, like, who is the second best, second MVP of this Ravens offense now that Mark Andrews is out? And, you're kind of scratching and clawing for names. Like, is it a Tyler Linderbaum? I mean, Zay Flowers has slowed down recently. Lamar is what makes this thing go.
Yeah, well, we have a guy that's having a pretty good season out here on the West Coast, the quarterback, Brock Purdy. Like, what's the view back east of Brock? Because we watch him play every game, every down. We know what he brings to the Niners, but there seems to be, on a national basis, a lack of respect for Brock Purdy. What's the view of Baltimore, the Niners quarterback?
Well, I can tell you, just being out at the Castle and going back to Kyle Hamilton, Kyle brought up that point saying, there's some guys saying that he's a system quarterback, but he's anything but that. Look, Brock Purdy's having a hell of a year. mean, it's the Niners are so good, it's kind of being held against him, right? Where it's, it's great to have Ayuk and Debo and George Kittle and CMC and all of that, but I mean, he's still delivering them the football and he's still making things go. So, look, I mean, we've kind of had the debate this week ahead of the game, who's more valuable to their team. I mean, I think I would say, maybe you guys agree, maybe you don't. I think Lamar is definitely more valuable to this offense than Purdy to San Francisco's, but that's not to take anything away from the season that Purdy's having. I mean, he's having a great, great year.
Yeah, we saw you guys without Lamar last year. It was a struggle. Brock Purdy is playing at an elite level, and I know Niner fans are saying, we don't want to see Sam Darnold at all because there could be a big drop-off there. But I'm going to go back to the defense for a second because we have some pretty damn good linebackers out here, Fred Warner and Drake Greenlaw. We're pushing for Fred Warner to be the Defensive Player of the Year. He's played in every single game since he's been drafted. But how do those linebackers in Baltimore feel? Because I think that's a duo in Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith and even Kyle Van Noy coming off the edge. That's a set of linebackers that nobody's really discussing nationally. At least we don't talk about them here in the Bay Area.
Let me tell you, I mean, the discussion got started during the offseason about Queen and Roquan Smith being the two best inside linebackers in football. And like you said, the only duo that rivals it is Greenlaw and Fred Warner. And I've been a huge Fred Warner fan ever since he's been in the league. But Queen and Roquan just complement each other so well. Queen's kind of that lightning, Roquan's the thunder, and Queen in his contract year, because the Ravens declined his fifth-year option, he's playing his butt off, guys. I mean, he's going to get paid on the open market this year, and Roquan is just, he's been a force multiplier, and you can go back last year to when they acquired him from the Bears. The defensive numbers for the Ravens since that point to now have been ridiculous. And that is just not coincidence, Roquan is definitely that force multiplier.
What game do you think is more important for the Ravens? I know it's 1 week at a time, right? You go 1-0 every Sunday. That's the goal. But you got this big matchup with the NFC powerhouse Niners, and then the next week it's the Dolphins on a New Year's Eve matchup, and that could determine the AFC's number one seed. So do you think there's any chance they look ahead to that or no way?
It's been a really odd week for us kind of previewing this game because, guys, to be perfectly blunt, I don't want to say this game's meaningless to the Ravens, but they win their two home games, they're the number one seed in the AFC, regardless of anything that happens this weekend. Now, that's not to say that this is a massive statement game for the Ravens. I mean, if the Ravens go on the road and beat the 49ers, they're unequivocally the best team in the NFL. But in terms of the ultimate goal of getting the one seed, of getting to the Super Bowl, I mean, next week is vastly more important, in my opinion.
All right, before we let you go, Tim, you are not going to be able to just get off these airways without us playing this soundbite for Marlon Humphrey. We're going to play it for you right now, Tim.
Anything extra juice for this one? Any thoughts? Anything that I think everyone would want to know going into this big matchup?
I don't respect them.
Keep talking.
Yeah. No, man.
No, shout out. Who don't you respect?
No, I don't respect a single person on their football team.
Yeah. Frauds.
Like, literally.
All right, that was on the Punchline Podcast. Marlon Humphrey, Jack Settleman. So what's your thoughts on that? Did you guys follow up with Marlon Humphrey?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, after that clip, he was kind of just joking around. Is that correct?
But you know the internet. We only play it for 7 seconds, and we're going to eat that up. We don't know about the rest of the podcast.
Come on, man. Nah, Marlon was definitely. I was actually in the locker room when it was open locker room, and he was throwing a ton of flowers the 49ers way. He did make a joke about the point spread though. It was pretty funny. It was like, man, I wasn't expecting it to be 5.5. It kind of hurt my feelings.
Well, it's too late, Tim, with this fan base. These 49er fans, they're eating it up. And we're all eating it up, and it's going to be plastered all over Santa Clara and all over the Bay Area. So tell Marlon, thank you anyway. Hey, Tim, I don't know if you're traveling out here. If you are, safe travels. If not, happy holidays. Enjoy Monday Night Football between the Ravens and the Niners.
Appreciate it, man. Happy holidays to everyone out there.
Absolutely. So, Tim, right there, FP, and FP Sanchez and for Joe Shask.